So here's a quick overview of your map to the IA. This is the rubric and mini scaffold document, which is linked both in the job that you've just come from and in the mezzanine from the building directory anytime you want to come back and take a look at it. It's divided into several tabs down here at the bottom. Each one of these letter labeled tabs is one of the criteria that you're judged on throughout the sections of your IA. And then there's also a glossary and a page breakdown. The page breakdown, if you're interested, breaks the whole document down page by page and compares the IA's divisions to my recommendations. The glossary is more useful, and it relates to all of the highlighted terms within the checklists here in the middle section and shows you a specific definition from the IB's point of view of what those terms mean. The most interesting of which is this term appropriate, which is a judgment about the question, the problem that you're trying to solve itself. This is adapted from the older program for design technology, but it is still highly useful, especially these questions. As you think about the problem that you're trying to solve, if you can answer reasonably to several of these questions, you know you have found an appropriate problem, and that will be one that will make a good IA project, or potentially a good IA project anyway. So let's take a look at this map. There are several sections here. Right at the top, there's a title and then an overview of what this phase, this criteria is about. And then within that, underneath that, there are several columns which are checklists for specific tasks you can take that will help you fulfill the requirements for that subset of this criterion. Decide on an appropriate problem that you will solve through the creation of a product. Use a design journal, brainstorm a range of ideas, for example. If you do this step by step through these criteria and through these checklists, you're going to have what you need to build a good IA. Right next to each column of checklist, there is a page number column. That's intended to be used as you turn in this criteria for you to document which pages in your IA address each of those items. This will make it very easy for the marker, initially me, and later on probably a moderator, to look at your document and figure out exactly where you thought you addressed these, and then give you feedback about whether you did well with the addressing of that particular item or not. Below that, there's a recommended page guideline. This is not a limit. It is not a requirement. It's just a guideline. So to identify your problem, I think would take about 2 pages. These pages that are listed here are A4 Arial 11-point type. So that's just the guideline. A4 is a requirement from the IB, either A4 or A3, depending on what you'd prefer to design in, and no smaller than Arial 11-point. Below that is the rubric. This is how we actually grade, how we actually mark and evaluate the IA that gets turned in to us when we're examining. So initially, you can see you get 1 to 3 marks for stating the problem, 4 to 6 marks for identifying an appropriate problem. Here's where that appropriate comes into play, which leads to a design opportunity, and 7 to 9 marks for describing an appropriate problem, which leads to a design opportunity. So you see, if you only state it, then you cannot get any more than 3 marks for that criterion. If you identify it, you can't get any more than 6. To describe it, and you can go look at the glossary to find the definitions of all of these terms. To describe it gets you into the top mark band. Now here, this is separated out column by column by column with the specifics for each one. When I actually mark your IA, I look at the whole criterion A as a single piece using these descriptors that are in these bands at the bottom, and I decide on a single 1 through 9 assignment for the entire IA criterion A. Each criterion gets 9 points. So for an SL project with A, B, C, and D, that's 36 points total. For an HL project with E and F as well, that's 54 points total. But as we go through it, I think it will help if you see specifically for the identify a problem, for the research market and users, for develop a design brief, and so on, the mark that you would have gotten for that subsection, which will help you focus your attention on which portions need the most work. There's also the possibility that the work doesn't reach the standard described below. I rarely seen anything that bad unless it's simply not included. So there's your brief overview of the map. Please be sure to use it. Use the checklists, follow them through, use the page number recordings, make a copy of this document for yourself so you can track and you can use the checklists to build a great IA.